Tonight, we glimpse Hiroshima's peaceful daily life. You find yourself walking along a narrow street bathed in the gentle glow of late afternoon sunlight, the air filled with the soft clatter of wooden getter on stone, the murmur of vendors calling out their fresh catches, and the occasional laughter of children chasing each other through the winding lanes. You smell a subtle mix of incense from a nearby temple, mingling with the savory aroma of grilled fish and fresh rice steaming from small street stalls. The city hums quietly unhurried, yet alive, a mosaic of daily rituals and simple joys. Before we begin, if this little corner of calm has brought you any comfort, feel free to like the video and subscribe only if it feels genuine to you. No pressure. I'd also love to hear from you. Just drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. It's always special to know we're all quietly gathered here from different corners of the world, like a family, scattered but still connected. All right. Now go ahead and dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan or a soft hum in the background, something that feels like home. Nestle in, get cozy, and let's ease into tonight's story together. You trudge through the modest yet lively neighborhoods of Hiroshima in the 1930s, a city that, unlike many others, breathes with a blend of the traditional and the quietly modern. It's not the sprawling metropolis you might imagine, but rather a town where the river's gentle currents guide life, where the wooden houses with paper sliding doors face narrow streets shaded by cherry trees, and where the cadence of daily life seems somehow in sync with the slow passing of the seasons. On your left, a group of schoolchildren in neatly pressed uniforms practice their morning greetings, their voices rising and falling in a sing-song rhythm that sounds like a lullaby to the city itself. Here, the soundscape is a mixture of old and new, the clatter of horse-drawn carts sharing space with the occasional rumble of trams, the chatter of elders playing Go Under the Shade of Ginkgo trees, interrupted only by the soft whistle of a passing train. Vendors line the streets calling out their wares, fresh bamboo shoots, pickled plums, fragrant teas, and silken tofu made with care by local artisans. The city's pulse isn't frantic. It's measured, thoughtful, a quiet resilience that has weathered decades of change without losing its soul. Historians still argue whether this peaceful atmosphere was a fragile veneer masking growing tensions or a genuine communal harmony that bound Hiroshima's residents together tightly in their daily routines. After all, beneath the surface, the winds of war and modernization were stirring, even if the city's inhabitants went about their lives with a comforting sense of normalcy. But right now, as you watch an elderly woman sweep fallen leaves from the doorstep of her home, the world feels steady, unshaken. The rhythm of the city is set by the rising and setting of the sun, by the tolling of temple bells, and the laughter spilling from communal bathhouses. The scent of tatami mats dries in the afternoon sun, mingling with the salty breeze drifting in from the nearby inland sea. Children weave between fishermen hauling nets at the river's edge, while women in patterned kimonos carry baskets filled with fresh vegetables back from the market. Remember that delicate balance between tradition and modernity, the way the clacking of abacuses in small shops coexists with shiny new wristwatches sold by traveling salesmen. It's a city that wears its past with pride, even as it looks toward an uncertain future. And so as the sky softens into a gentle peach, you find yourself wondering, how did these ordinary moments of calm prepare Hiroshima's residents for the unimaginable events that would soon shatter their world? That question lingers quietly as the city settles into twilight, promising to reveal its secrets in the stories yet to come. You step away from the bustling streets and into the gentle embrace of Hiroshima's geography, where the city's unique layout shapes both its beauty and its daily rhythms. Imagine this: a city cradled by rivers dotted with islands and ringed by soft hills, each element weaving together to create a place where water and land exist in a delicate dance. The Ota River, sprawling with its many branches, snakes through the heart of Hiroshima, dividing the city into several small islands, connected by a network of bridges that seem to arch gracefully like the ribs of a resting creature. As you stroll along the riverbanks, you can hear the steady slap of wooden boats against the docks, their fishermen preparing for an early morning catch, while women wash clothes with rhythmic splashes in the shallow waters. This watery geography doesn't just define the city's scenery, it dictates the flow of life itself. Markets gather near the shores where fresh fish are brought in by dawn alongside bundles of seaweed and freshly harvested vegetables from nearby fields. The hills that rise gently around the city provide shelter, and on clear days offer views of the inland sea, stretching toward the horizon where islands appear like scattered jewels in the distance. The changing seasons paint this landscape in soft hues, from cherry blossoms that carpet the riverside in spring to fiery maple leaves fluttering in autumn breezes each season, leaving its signature on the city's spirit. Historians still argue whether Hiroshima's geography was a blessing or a strategic vulnerability as tensions mounted during the 1930s. Some say the rivers and islands created natural defenses and fostered a tight-knit community, while others suggest they complicated military logistics and made the city harder to defend against new forms of aerial warfare. Either way, the interplay of water and land gave Hiroshima a rhythm that shaped its inhabitants' sense of place and belonging. A quirky tidbit to keep in mind as you wander the city's numerous bridges earned nicknames based on their shapes or the legends attached to them, like the Snake Bridge for its winding path, or the Lover's Bridge where young couples would steal secret moments away from prying eyes. It's funny to think of these bridges as silent witnesses to the city's laughter secrets and whispered hopes, standing firm as generations crossed back and forth. You might also notice how the low-lying islands and floodplains were dotted with rice paddies, where farmers worked the land with age-old tools while the city centre buzzed quietly with commerce. This duality between agricultural tradition and urban life created a unique texture to Hiroshima's culture, a place where old and new coexisted by the riverside like an old family recipe passed down but tweaked just enough to stay fresh. Picture yourself seated at a small wooden bench near the water's edge, watching the sunset paint the sky a soft orange, the water shimmering in response. In the distance, the outline of Miyajima Island looms, with its iconic, floating torii gate standing proudly against the sea, a spiritual beacon for many. The landscape doesn't just shape the city physically, it shapes its stories, its festivals, and even its moods. And as the night begins to fall, the city's geography continues to hold its residents gently, like a cradle swaying just enough to keep everyone safe, but awake enough to dream. It's a geography that's more than just land and water. It's the silent backdrop to all the lives unfolding here. Stories of families, friendships, and futures still unwritten. You wander deeper into Hiroshima's bustling heart, where the steady hum of daily life is powered by craftsmen and merchants whose hands shape the city's character. Imagine narrow workshops spilling into the streets, the scent of fresh-cut wood mingling with the tang of hot metal, and the faint sweetness of dyed silk, all blended into a heady aroma that defines the city's industrious spirit. Here, family-run shops have passed down their trades through generations, potters shaping delicate ceramics on spinning wheels, weavers threading intricate patterns into bolts of cloth, and blacksmiths hammering steel with rhythmic precision, sparks flying like miniature fireworks in dim-lit rooms. The pride in craftsmanship is palpable. It's as if every object made here carries a piece of Hiroshima's soul. Markets are a central thread in this fabric. Each morning you can find vendors setting up stalls bursting with fresh produce, handmade goods, and local delicacies. The merchants greet one another with warm bows and hearty smiles, their interactions more akin to a social ritual than mere business. You catch the lively chatter between customers haggling playfully over the price of pickled vegetables or fresh fish, the sort of back and forth that builds community bonds. It's a place where everyone knows each other and where a merchant's reputation is as valuable as the goods they sell. Historians still argue whether Hiroshima's economic vitality was a product of its geographic location or the result of a deeply ingrained culture of meticulous craft and trade. Some say the city thrived simply because its rivers and sea allowed easy access to broader markets, while others emphasize the role of community and tradition in sustaining these trades through times of hardship. Either way, the city's heartbeat was unmistakably tied to these small workshops and bustling streets. A quirky tidbit that often surprises newcomers, some local craftsmen used natural dyes sourced from surprising ingredients like persimmons or even crushed insects, a reminder of how creativity mingled with practicality in everyday life. And yes, there was a market legend of a potter whose secret to perfect glaze was a dash of crushed seashells gathered from the nearby shores, an artisan's alchemy blending nature with skill. In the evenings, as the sun dips low, families gather around low wooden tables laden with dishes crafted from locally sourced ingredients, rice steamed to fluffy perfection, grilled river fish, and pickled vegetables that pack a punch. Conversations flow easily, punctuated by laughter and the occasional teasing jab, a shared sense of belonging that softens the hardships of daily toil. You might catch the sound of shamisen strings drifting from a nearby tea house where merchants and craftsmen unwind with music and sake after a long day. The city's pulse shifts from the clatter of commerce to the gentle hum of camaraderie as neighbors swap stories and children chase fireflies under the glow of paper lanterns. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from the first section? Well, some merchants also dabbled in selling quirky remedies and trinkets alongside their crafts, small eccentricities that brought a touch of humor and humanity to Hiroshima's streets. It was a city where tradition met a dash of the unexpected, making every corner a story waiting to be told. As you listen to the mingling sounds, the clink of pottery, the murmur of voices, the occasional call of a vendor, you realize that Hiroshima was more than just a city. It was a living, breathing community held together by the skillful hands and warm hearts of its people, a place where everyday life unfolded in rich, vibrant detail. The city's calendar pulses with festivals and traditions that light up Hiroshima's streets and hearts, turning ordinary days into celebrations brimming with color and sound. Imagine the anticipation building as Matsuri season approaches, where the air thickens with the scent of incense, roasted sweet potatoes, and the faint smoke of fireworks waiting to burst. During these times, the city becomes a stage for ritual dances, vibrant processions, and the cheerful clang of taiko drums echoing through alleys. You can almost hear the excited chatter as families prepare their finest yukata, the cotton kimonos that flutter gently with each step, while children clutch brightly colored masks depicting playful spirits or fierce warriors. These festivals are more than just spectacles, they are the threads that weave the community together. At the annual Tenjin Festival, floats adorned with lanterns parade through the streets, carried by groups of young men whose synchronized chants and stomps create a powerful rhythm that seems to shake the very ground beneath your feet. The city's temples and shrines buzz with visitors offering prayers for health, prosperity, and peace, hope, and tradition entwined like the ribbons on a ceremonial pole. Historians still argue whether these festivals served primarily as spiritual ceremonies or as vital social glue that bolstered morale during increasingly uncertain times. Some scholars suggest that as political tensions rose, these communal gatherings became crucial outlets for expressing collective identity and resilience, while others view them as simply the continuation of age-old customs largely untouched by the outside world. Either way, the spirit of celebration was undeniable. A quirky detail that often goes unnoticed is the tradition of firewalking at some matsuri, where participants tread barefoot across glowing embers to prove their courage and spiritual purity. It's a practice that seems at odds with the gentle, peaceful image of the city, but speaks to the complex layers of belief and bravery woven into Hiroshima's cultural fabric. Beyond the big festivals, seasonal observances marked the passing of time with quieter, intimate rituals. Cherry blossom viewing in spring was a gentle collective sigh of relief after winter's grip, families and friends gathering beneath the blooming trees to share tea and laughter. Autumn brought the harvest moon festivals where lanterns floated on the rivers, casting flickering reflections that danced alongside the gentle current. In the evenings, the soundscape softened to the rustle of kimono fabric and the hum of conversations beneath paper lanterns lining the streets. Children chased each other between stalls, their faces painted with cheerful masks and sticky from candied apples, while elders sat on wooden benches sharing stories of festivals past and hopes for those to come. The city, for all its quiet moments, thrived on these bursts of communal joy and tradition. Remember those markets buzzing with craftsmen and merchants? During festivals, their stalls blossomed with special offerings, handcrafted charms, seasonal sweets, and sometimes the odd crocodile dung sunscreen, proving that even in celebration, Hiroshima never lost its quirky sense of humor. It was a city that found balance between reverence and revelry, where tradition and joy walked hand in hand beneath the same cherry trees. As night falls and fireworks trace glittering arcs across the sky, the city glows not just with lantern light, but with the warm pulse of shared celebration, a reminder that even in uncertain times, community and tradition provided a beacon of hope. You slip quietly into the spaces where education and faith intertwine, where the rhythm of learning and spiritual practice shapes the heartbeat of Hiroshima's communities. Imagine the clang of the school bell echoing through narrow lanes as children in crisp uniforms trudge up stone steps, their satchels bouncing with the weight of textbooks and lunchboxes wrapped in neat cloth. The classrooms are simple but orderly wooden desks lined in rows beneath paper lanterns casting a soft glow, while teachers deliver lessons with a calm authority, blending rote memorization with moral instruction rooted in both Confucian and Shinto values. Here, students recite poems, practice calligraphy, and learn arithmetic, all while absorbing lessons meant to cultivate not just knowledge but discipline and respect. Nearby temple bells toll gently across the cityscape, signaling the rhythm of prayers and rituals that mark daily life. Temples, often nestled beneath cherry trees or atop small hills, are places where faith and community meet, where families come to honor ancestors, seek guidance, or participate in seasonal ceremonies. The scent of incense curls lazily through open windows, mingling with the rustling of kimono fabric, as monks chant in measured tones, creating an atmosphere both solemn and serene. Education and faith coexist, sometimes overlapping, as children learn not only in school but also through participation in temple activities, grounding their upbringing in a rich cultural heritage. Historians still argue whether the educational system was primarily a tool for fostering national loyalty or a genuine effort to nurture individual growth and community cohesion. Some scholars emphasize the strong influence of militaristic and nationalist curricula during this period, while others highlight local efforts to maintain traditional values and peaceful learning environments. Regardless of debate, the schools and temples together formed a network that sustained the social fabric of Hiroshima, a scaffold for both knowledge and spiritual life. A quirky detail often overlooked is the tradition of kakekomi, schooling informal classes held under the shade of trees or in back alleys, where retired teachers or community elders offered lessons to children who couldn't attend formal schools, a testament to Hiroshima's grassroots dedication to education. You might also hear of young students practicing their lessons while balancing on riverbanks, their voices mingling with the gentle lapping of water, a serene but lively study environment. In these neighborhoods, children's days are punctuated by the sound of wooden sandals clicking on stone paths as they rush from school to temple festivals, their small faces flushed with excitement and concentration. Parents chat quietly by the gates, exchanging news and advice, while monks and teachers collaborate in community gatherings, nurturing not only minds but also hearts. Remember the quiet markets and family workshops education weaves into these daily lives seamlessly, as knowledge about crafts, history, and morality passes not only from textbooks but also from one generation to the next through storytelling and shared experience. It's a city where learning is as much about community as it is about classrooms, where faith and education form a gentle duet guiding children toward their futures. As you imagine this scene, the flickering candlelight in a temple's darkened corner, the crisp sound of calligraphy brushes against paper, the mingled voices of chanting monks and reciting students, you feel the steady heartbeat of a city that values both tradition and progress, nurturing a generation on the cusp of profound change. You find yourself drawn to the riverside once again, where life flows as steadily as the water itself, and the connection between people and nature reveals itself through food, and daily labor. Picture fishermen in straw hats guiding small wooden boats through the gentle currents of the Ota River, their nets cast wide and shimmering with the promise of a fresh catch. The air is thick with the briny scent of the sea, mingled with the earthy aroma of rice paddies stretching across nearby lowlands, their vibrant green stalks swaying in time with the breeze. This is a city where food is not merely sustenance, but a celebration of the land and water's generosity, a culinary story that binds community to environment. Markets brim with the day's harvest, plump river fish glisten under morning light, fresh vegetables pile high in baskets woven from bamboo, and fragrant herbs fill the air with subtle hints of an approaching meal. Women, their hands deft from years of practice, prepare pickled plums umeboshi that pack a tangy punch, balancing the sweetness of steamed rice in lunches carefully wrapped in cloth. The connection between the city's diet and its geography is intimate. Hiroshima's residents rely on the rivers and sea not only for livelihood, but also as sources of cultural identity. Historians still argue whether Hiroshima's food culture was more influenced by regional traditions or shaped by external trade routes that introduced new ingredients and cooking methods. Some suggest that the city's culinary heritage reflects a localized adaptation of broader Japanese tastes, while others highlight subtle influences from Korean and Chinese merchants who passed through port cities, enriching the palate with diversity. Either way, food here was a vibrant symbol of place and people. A quirky and delightful tidbit, Hiroshima was famous for its oyster farms, and while oysters might bring to mind refined dining today, back then, local fishermen joked that the best oysters could sing if you listened closely enough. This playful superstition was a local joke meant to keep spirits high during tough seasons, and it became part of the city's folklore passed down at family dinners. You might also imagine the lively chatter around communal meals where stories are shared alongside bowls of miso soup and freshly grilled fish. Rice paddies were not just fields, but sites of communal labor, with neighbors helping each other during planting, and harvest, a practical cooperation that strengthened social bonds. The riverbanks saw children learning to fish and swim, their laughter rippling across the water like a gentle melody. Remember the markets filled with merchants and craftsmen. Their days often began and ended with the simple pleasure of a hot meal made from fresh local ingredients, fueling their hands and hearts for the work ahead. Food was both comfort and culture, a daily ritual that celebrated Hiroshima's connection to its waterways and soil. As dusk falls, the city's aroma shifts subtly, the smoky hint of charcoal grills, the sweet fragrance of simmering stews, and the distant echo of laughter. Here by the riverside, the taste of community and place lingers in every bite, a reminder that life's simplest pleasures often carry the deepest meanings. You notice subtle shifts in the cityscape as Hiroshima begins to hum, with signs of modernization, a quiet tension between the familiar and the new that creeps into daily life like a whisper. Trains and trams rattle along steel tracks, carrying office workers in crisp suits and students with neatly packed books threading the city together faster than ever before. Electric street lamps glow softly as dusk falls, casting long shadows on the pavement, where storefronts display wares that once would have seemed exotic. Wristwatches ticking steadily beside wooden combs, canned goods stacked near hand-woven baskets, and radios crackling with distant voices from across the sea. This isn't a city clinging stubbornly to the past, but one gently stepping into the future, balancing tradition with convenience. Small department stores pop up alongside family-run shops, and newspapers deliver news from Tokyo and abroad, introducing residents to global events previously distant from their everyday experience. Western-style cafes serve coffee alongside matcha tea, and movie theaters showcase silent films that fill the streets with excited chatter after evening shows. For many, these new comforts feel like glimpses of a wider world, promising progress, but also stirring questions about what might be lost. Historians still argue whether this wave of modernization diluted Hiroshima's traditional identity or enriched it with new layers of culture and opportunity. Some argue that the influx of Western goods and ideas disrupted established social orders and crafts, while others see it as a natural evolution that helped the city thrive economically and culturally. Either way, the signs of change are unmistakable. A quirky tidbit: one of the first trams to run through Hiroshima was affectionately nicknamed the Turtle because of its slow but steady pace, prompting commuters to joke that it was the city's unofficial mascot, teaching patience in a world speeding up. You might imagine a tram conductor with a wry smile greeting passengers as they board this famously sluggish vehicle. Amid these shifts, neighborhoods remain tightly knit, with residents adapting to new rhythms. While holding on to familiar routines, children still play traditional games in alleys shaded by blossoming trees, and families gather around wood-burning stoves for evening meals. But the future beckons, and you can feel a cautious excitement mixed with nostalgia in the air. Remember the craftsmen's workshops and bustling markets? Many have started incorporating modern tools or selling new products alongside their traditional crafts, blending old skills with new demands. It's a delicate dance, as some artisans worry their centuries-old techniques might fade, while others embrace innovation to stay relevant. As you watch the city lights flicker on, and the hum of conversations rise in cozy cafes and homes alike, you realize Hiroshima is poised at a crossroads where past and future intertwine, and where the pulse of progress beats softly beneath a veil of enduring tradition. Beneath Hiroshima's gentle rhythms, a quieter current runs, one of political tension and military presence that edges ever closer to the city's daily life, coloring conversations in tea houses and casting long shadows over peaceful streets. Soldiers in crisp uniforms march in formation during morning drills on the outskirts, their disciplined steps a stark contrast to the casual laughter of children playing in the city's parks. Military training grounds hum with activity, and the steady hum of aircraft engines occasionally breaks the city's otherwise calm soundscape, reminders of a world inching closer to conflict. Citizens exchange hushed opinions, some filled with pride in Japan's growing strength, others laced with concern over what the future might bring. Tea houses become arenas for debate where shopkeepers, students and elders gather over steaming cups of green tea, sharing news and speculation about Japan's expanding military ambitions and alliances abroad. The chatter mixes respect for national progress with a quiet anxiety as families wonder how these distant geopolitical maneuvers might affect their lives. It's a delicate balance between loyalty and doubt, hope and fear. Historians still argue whether Hiroshima's military presence significantly altered the city's civilian life or remained a peripheral undercurrent until the very eve of the war. Some believe the proximity of military facilities made the city a strategic hub from early on, while others suggest everyday life remained largely untouched by martial concerns until the last moments. Either way, the tension was palpable, a subtle but persistent shadow on the city's otherwise vibrant tapestry. A quirky and humanizing tidbit: some soldiers stationed near Hiroshima took up odd hobbies like creating miniature bonsai trees or composing haikus about their experiences, small acts of creativity and calm amid the regimentation and uncertainty. These tiny trees, carefully tended, became symbols of patience and hope, perhaps more so than the soldiers realized. You can imagine neighbors peering through paper windows, catching glimpses of drills in the morning fog, or parents whispering reassurances to children nervous about the growing presence of uniforms and orders. The city, while outwardly serene, holds a collective breath, waiting for what many sense is an approaching storm. Remember the lively festivals and warm homes, they persist, despite the tension, a testament to Hiroshima's resilience and the human desire for normalcy, even in uneasy times. It's as if the city wears its military shadow like a quiet cloak, not yet heavy enough to smother its light, but enough to remind everyone of the fragile balance between peace and conflict. As the sun dips behind distant hills, the sound of marching fades and the city exhales, holding on to moments of calm before the unknown arrives. You step inside the intimate spaces of Hiroshima's homes and neighborhoods, where life unfolds in close-knit clusters and resilience is stitched into every wooden beam and paper sliding door. Picture narrow alleys lined with small houses, their tiled roofs gently weathered by years of sun and rain. Each home a sanctuary where families gather, share meals and find comfort amid life's uncertainties. The scent of tatami mats mingles with the faint aroma of simmering miso soup wafting from kitchens, while children's laughter echoes softly, weaving through the delicate screens that separate rooms and lives. These neighborhoods are more than just places to live. They are vibrant communities where neighbors are extended family and stories pass from one generation to the next, like cherished heirlooms. In many homes, you'll find multi-generational families living under one roof, grandparents sharing wisdom over steaming cups of tea, while grandchildren practice their lessons nearby. Space is often modest, but warmth and hospitality overflow. Neighbors often gather to help each other with daily chores, mending clothes, repairing roofs, or preparing communal meals during festivals and celebrations. The sense of interdependence here is strong, fostering bonds that endure challenges and change alike. Historians still argue how much the physical design of these homes and neighborhoods contributed to social cohesion and resilience in Hiroshima. Some suggest that the close quarters and shared spaces naturally encouraged community solidarity, while others argue that these conditions sometimes bred tensions and struggles for privacy. Either way, the intimate scale of life here shaped how people connected, supported, and understood one another. A quirky tidbit: some households kept pet cranes or songbirds in delicate cages, believing their songs brought good fortune and peace to the home. Children sometimes fashioned tiny origami cranes as offerings or charms, a tradition steeped in hope and gentle superstition that would take on profound meaning in years to come. You might notice the careful way homes are decorated with seasonal flowers, calligraphy scrolls, and handcrafted ornaments, reflecting an aesthetic sensitivity that honors nature and transience. These small touches create a quiet sanctuary amid the busy world, outside a place where resilience is both practiced and celebrated daily. Remember the markets, festivals, and educational spaces. All these threads come together here, in the personal sanctuaries where lives are woven with love, care, and quiet strength. It is in these homes that Hiroshima's spirit truly breathes, a collective heartbeat steady even as the world around it grows restless. As evening shadows lengthen and paper lanterns flicker softly through open windows, you can almost feel the gentle hum of shared stories, whispered hopes, and the enduring comfort of belonging, elements that even in the darkest times ahead would sustain this community's soul. You now find yourself listening to the quiet personal stories of Hiroshima's residents, their dreams, doubts, and everyday hopes that colored their lives before the unthinkable dawn. Imagine sitting in a small wooden room with paper screens softly diffusing the afternoon light, an elderly man recounting memories of fishing trips with his father along the riverbanks, while a young woman dreams aloud of becoming a teacher, her voice a mix of determination and gentle uncertainty. Voices from all walks of life intertwine, merchants balancing ambition with family duties, students caught between tradition and modern aspirations, farmers tending to their fields while wondering what the future holds for their children. These stories, ordinary yet profound, compose the mosaic of a city unaware of the looming catastrophe, yet deeply human in its yearnings. You might hear about neighbors quietly debating the rise of militarism, some hopeful for national pride and progress, others wary of what it might mean for their families. There's talk of increasing wartime shortages, ration cards clipped carefully from worn notebooks, and the cautious preservation of normalcy amid growing uncertainty. Yet despite the tension, life pulses with humor and resilience, laughter shared over a modest meal, playful teasing between siblings, and the ever-present making of small joys to carry on. Historians still argue how much these personal narratives reflect the collective consciousness of Hiroshima at the time. Some suggest that the diversity of experiences paints a nuanced picture of a city both proud and vulnerable, while others focus on dominant themes of resilience and hope as a community coping with impending disaster. Either way, these voices offer a window into the city's heart, rich with complexity and tenderness. A quirky anecdote captures the spirit: a local shopkeeper who, sensing the mounting worries, began selling lucky charms made from folded paper cranes and scraps of silk tokens meant to bring protection and peace. The community embraced these symbols, weaving superstition with genuine longing, a poignant blend of hope and humanity that would echo through history. Remember those tight-knit neighborhoods and the lively festivals. The people behind those scenes are more than faces in the crowd. They are dreamers, skeptics, and survivors in the making. Their stories, layered with quiet humor and earnest emotion, remind us that history is lived most deeply, not in grand events alone, but in the everyday moments that shape us. As twilight deepens and the city's gentle sounds fade to a hush, you feel the weight and warmth of these stories settle around you, a tapestry of lives on the cusp of transformation, carrying hopes that would echo long after the shadows fell. As the night stretches softly around you, let your thoughts slow to the gentle rhythm of a city at rest, where each breath is a whisper and every shadow holds a quiet memory. Imagine Hiroshima, settling under a velvet sky, the distant murmur of rivers soothing the edges of the day, and the faint rustle of leaves playing a lullaby only the wind can know. Here, the heartbeat of a community pulses gently beneath the surface, a mosaic of ordinary lives wrapped in delicate routines, humble dreams, and steadfast resilience. In this stillness, remind yourself that even amidst uncertainty, people find comfort in simple acts, a shared meal, a kind word, the warmth of family, or the steady presence of tradition. The stories you've heard linger softly, like embers glowing faintly, before fading into sleep. They remind you that history isn't just dates or events, but the quiet unfolding of human moments that carry light even in the darkest times. Let your mind drift like the paper lanterns that once floated down Hiroshima's rivers, each one carrying a hope, a prayer, a wish for peace. Feel the calm settle deeper, a gentle reassurance that despite the storms to come, the human spirit endures, weaving threads of connection and compassion across time and place. As you nestle into this quiet space, allow your breath to slow, your body to relax, and your thoughts to soften. The world can wait for now. Here in this moment you are safe, held gently by the past's tender embrace and the promise of tomorrow's dawn. Good night, dear listener. May your dreams be peaceful, your heart light, and your rest deep.